This is the brand new Nissan Kicks, a funky crossover with plenty of style both on the outside and on the inside. The cabin looks fresh with plenty of space. There is a ton of standard safety features, and best of all, the Kicks is completely customizable to your taste. Is this what you've been waiting for? Find out. I want to give a big shout out to my friends at Bill K Nissan, which made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Nissan, definitely check out this dealership. Their information is in the description below. Now moving on to the front end, starting with these headlights, they're nice and big and they bulge out like this. You do get LED projector low beam and also daytime running lights they call accent lights, but the high beam and fog lights are just regular incandescent bulbs. And then of course this flows into the V-motion grille that's pretty standard across all Nissans. And take a look at the bottom bumper. I actually really like the design. Even though this is matte black, I like how it cuts across on both sides, and the way the fog lights are shaped looks pretty good, modern and sporty. Now moving on to the side, this is where it gets really unique. You can see the color combinations and the contrast just screaming at you, and that is what Nissan is going for. There's various different body colors you could choose from, some that really pop, some are just neutral colors, but you can match it with various different colors on the roof so that you could have as much pop as you want. And you could go further than that. You could configure the mirrors, the door handles, inserts into wheels, a separate color. Really depends on what your taste is, and that is really cool. Now you do have a roof rack and that matches the bottom. That is a separate color. The window surrounds are black and that matches the matte black wheel guards that go around, right? Overall, this is really unique and I like this sporty vibe. And lastly, I don't know if you guys could see, there's a camera here. That's right, this Nissan Kicks have a 360 view camera that in this class you just don't see. It's just not offered, and this Kicks has it. Now moving on to the back side, it has a sporty vibe, but it reminds me of a Nissan Rogue, and that's okay. Starting with the top, because this is an SR edition, you do have the spoiler up here, and then you have these big beefy taillights that stick out from the body. And then look at the bottom bumper, the overall design. You do have a lot of matte black, but it adds to that sportiness, and overall I think this is a good looking rear end. Now moving on to the trunk, this is a good sized trunk, over 23 cubic feet. It's pretty deep, pretty wide, pretty tall. Up here there's a privacy cover, and down here you have some tools and your spare tire. This is a good amount of space for a subcompact crossover. So moving on to the second row, I'm actually impressed. There's a good amount of space back here. The door opens wide and this opening is quite large, so getting in and out is not going to be a problem. I'm 5'10" and I have a good 3 inches left. Same thing with headroom. I got 4 or 5 inches in fact. So a grown-up back here, adult sitting here is actually quite comfortable. Now in terms of width, only 2 adults. 3 adults, you're really gonna be squished. The seats are actually pretty supportive. They feel nice and they look nice because this is an SR edition. You get this cool stitching and orange insert, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like in a little bit. Now, the seat cushion does cut off a little bit fast over here, so I do feel that. I wish there was more support over here. But outside of that, good amount of space and comfort. Now, in terms of cup holders, you get 3. 1 in each door panel and a shared one over here. There's no armrest. And surprisingly, you get 2 USB ports that's also over here. It's kind of shared between the front and back, but you could definitely reach for it from back here, which is a big, big plus. Usually, crossovers in this segment do not offer any USB ports, so that is a big plus. So here's a better look at the seats. You can see the orange stitching, and you can see the orange accents and the diamond shaped stitching in the seat cushion. It looks very good, and this comes in the SR edition. Now to fold the seats down, simply pull on this and that's it. One thing to note is it does not fold flat. There is a good 6 inches over here, this gap over here, but you can still put relatively large things with the seats folded down. Now take a look at the seats. Nice looking seats, just like the back. These are not leather, although you can get that as an option, but same thing with the door panel with the orange accent. I think that looks pretty good with the aluminum handle here. And take a look, The cabin is actually very, very modern, I would say. It's not luxurious, but it is modern and it has that sporty vibe. And I like that. That fits with the overall car. You can see the orange stitching over here, and this is leather. It feels pretty good. This is soft plastic, and you can see the aluminum bezel right around the infotainment and the climate controls. It all looks very nice. Now, let's start out with the infotainment system. This is a 7-inch screen. It is touchscreen, so that's pretty nice. It's a little bit slow, but overall it still works in combination with the buttons that you see, the knobs and the buttons, and it does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard, so that is not going to be an issue. You could also get Wi-Fi in here if you wanted to. That is an option. Now, moving down here, this is pretty self-explanatory, but it does look nice. I like this design. 2 big knobs with a few buttons for defrosters and your fan control and your AC. Pretty good looking. Down here, just big open area for whatever you want. You get another USB port, 12V outlet over here, and you got a standard shifter, which is nice. Start stop button over here to start the car or stop the car. Standard shifter. There is no manual shifting, so you just put into drive and away you go. Now you got a normal or a regular handbrake, not electronic one, and these are really rare these days. You got 2 cup holders. There's really no center armrest. You got this little thing here, which works, but there's no place to put your things over here. There's nothing to hide things, so it's just exposed, and that's okay. And that is the USB ports for the back. Now, if you take a look at the gauge cluster, this is a really cool setup. And this side is analog for speed, but this whole side is a big digital screen, and you can configure it however you want. Of course, right now it's tach, your fuel. So you could scroll through this. There's a lot of things you could look at. So you have the tach, here's settings, and then you have information, your trip computer, your music. But going back to information, take a look at the safety features, because this Kicks in this price range has a lot of things standard that other manufacturers do not even offer as an option. For example, you get blind spot monitoring, you get emergency braking, you get cross traffic alert, and you get a whole lot more. I mean, that is all included in this Kicks, and at this price range, it's really unheard of before. So I'm going to talk more about that while I'm driving. But that is what the gauge cluster looks like. There's a whole lot of things you can look at. Of course, your maintenance, your TPMS for your tires. It is actually really nice looking. I really like that setup. Now, going to the steering wheel, traditional Nissan steering wheel. It is leather, and you have that orange stitching once again, which looks nice. And I love Nissan have flat bottom steering wheels. It just adds to the sportiness. I like that. This is for your cruise control and your phone, and over here is for your menu and music volume. Over here, this is pretty standard. This is for traction control off. All right, let's go for a drive and see how this Kicks behaves on the road. So first impression is the space. It's almost like you're sitting in a box, but in a good way. And what I mean by that is there is so much headroom, probably a foot of headroom left. So those of you guys that are on the taller side, driving this is not going to be a problem. Same thing with the seats. They go back really, really far. I feel like if you were a 7-footer, you would still be able to drive this Kicks. I mean, the seats go back enormously far from the pedals. It's really amazing how much space you get up here. So I mentioned about the space in the back. You get more space up here. Headroom, legroom, shoulder room. There's actually a good amount of space. So space is not going to be an issue, even those of you guys that are on the taller side. Now the windshield and visibility from the windshield and the side and the back is awesome. Awesome. There's so many manufacturers that, you know, make the back tailgate window very slanted or small. It cuts into visibility. The headrest cuts into it. That's not a problem here. The back, nice and big, as if I was driving a normal large size SUV. I could see plenty back there. Same thing. There's so much visibility from the sides and the front. It's really, really airy in here. Now the side mirrors, Kind of like the new Altima that I reviewed. I feel like they're a little bit small. I don't know. Nissan decided to put small mirrors, maybe to save on gas for efficiency. I don't know, but they feel a little bit small in my opinion. Now, one thing that's a disappointment that maybe Nissan will change later on, but maybe not, and that is there's no optional all-wheel drive on here. So in terms of crossover SUV, however you want to define it, there's usually an all-wheel drive option, and there is none in here, and that's because Nissan already has the Rogue and the Rogue Sport. So this comes in under a Rogue Sport, so Nissan decided to remove the all-wheel drive option, which I think is a mistake. I think they really should put it on here, and it will drive sales up even more because there's a lot of us that live in regions that get snow. All right. We'll test out the engine in here, which I have a feeling isn't going to be too lively, but let's find out. Okay, that took an enormous amount of time to get to 60 miles per hour. I kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. The engine made a lot of noise. Everything else I think is pretty good. The engine is lacking 121 horsepower, and that is about 20 less than its rivals. Now, Nissan did this on purpose. For fuel economy, they mated it with a CVT, which is no surprise, but you get good fuel economy, 33 miles per gallon combined, which beats its rivals. And plus, they want to keep the cost down. So if you're driving this daily, okay, you're going on the highway, it could get up to speed. It's just going to take a while. But if you're driving within the city, a lot of stop and go traffic with where a lot of horsepower isn't needed, this is very suitable. Now, I feel like Nissan did improve the CVT in this Kicks. Now, because this was introduced in 2018, I feel like Nissan tweaked it a bit more. I could definitely feel it simulates shifting. You could see the RPMs drop while you're getting up to speed. So that is something that they have added on the Kicks to simulate a normal auto. And plus, I feel like the traditional droning or the noise that you hear is reduced substantially. In fact, this Kicks is really well insulated. Now I'm traveling at 50 miles per hour and it's quiet. There's no wind noise. Now the road noise is a little bit higher, and I do feel a bit more bumps. So the suspension is a bit stiffer or harsher than I expected, but in terms of sound insulation and quietness, it's actually really good in here. Really good. In fact, I think this is more quiet than a RAV4 that I recently tested, which is a whole lot more expensive. I find that even just going straight right now, like the steering is moving, and I have to keep concentration to make it go straight, which is really, really odd. So I don't know what's going on with the steering in here. There are some very visible and large body gaps throughout the Kicks. Now, it's hidden if you're not looking for it because of all the color combinations and how good the Kicks look, but if you're looking carefully, you can spot them. Now, I mentioned about the safety features already. Something that's really, really useful is blind spot monitoring, which there's a light on each side. That is always welcome, but visibility, blind spot is not really an issue here, but you do get it. Auto braking, cross traffic alert when you're backing out, those are all really nice. And I got to show you guys the 360 view. When you put the Kicks in reverse, not only do you see behind you, you get a 360 view of what's around your Kicks, which is really nice. And that is something that you just don't see in the rivals. I feel the brakes catch on a bit early. So compared to the numerous other cars where I say it's normal and then catches on when expected, I feel like the brakes and the Kicks catch on a bit earlier. So that's something that you got to get used to. So overall, I think the Kicks is a fantastic value. especially when you look at the price point, because I think a lot of reviewers look at it and they compare it to the upper trims of the HRV, CHR, and others, and they're like, oh, look, they have all-wheel drive, they have this, they have that. Well, they're coming in at thousands, sometimes 5,000 more than what this Kicks is coming in at. So I think Nissan did a terrific job giving you value, right? The best bang for the buck. You certainly get a lot. The safety features, the customizable, the color choices that you get a whole bunch of room, a modern cabin that's very quiet. I think Nissan gives you a lot in this Kicks. As for trim levels, there are 3 trims to this brand new Kicks. Starting with the base trim, the S trim, which starts at $18,600, under $19,000, and you certainly get a lot. You get that 7-inch touchscreen display. You do get Bluetooth, hands-free system, rear view monitor, backup camera, and look at some of the standard safety features that you get on the base S trim. You get automatic emergency braking, you get blind spot warning, and you get rear cross traffic alert. Now moving up, you do have the SV trim that starts around $20,300. You do get nicer 17-inch alloy wheels. You do get a 7-inch advanced drive assist display in the gauge cluster. And you get the very important Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that a lot of people are looking for. Finally, you do move up to the SR, and that's what I'm testing today. This is about $600 more than the SV, and you do get LED headlights, LED signature accent light. You also get that gorgeous 360 view monitor, the intelligent around view monitor. You get a rear spoiler, and you get sport classy trim with the orange accents and stitching, which look really nice. Now let's move on to the good and bad to this Nissan Kicks. Starting with the good, there is infinite number of exterior color combinations, which is really unique. There's a vast interior space for passengers. There is a modern and sleek looking interior cabin. The starting price and MSRP is definitely much lower than the competition. There is comfortable seats and quiet ride. And lastly, the tech and safety features that come on the Nissan Kicks. Now, as for the bad, there are a few. There's no all-wheel drive option, which is needed. Steering is unpredictable at times. There are large body panel gaps. And finally, there is slow acceleration. Overall, I'm giving the Kicks a score of 90, and if you want to see how this compares to its peers and other SUVs, then check out driversonlyrankings.com. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other videos.